my name is Tina Wilson. I am a Firearm and Toolmark examiner for the St. Louis County Police Crime Laboratory. We are the last section that evidence travels throughout the lab, so if it needs to go to biology or fingerprints for processing, it will travel to those sections before it comes to us. We are a pretty low-tech section for the laboratory, so we typically use a microscope and do most of our analysis at our lab bench. Come into the lab with us. Let's go take a peek. Here at St. Louis County, we perform function testing of firearms that are seized off of the street and submitted to the crime laboratory. We perform microscopic comparisons of fired cartridge cases and bullets. Those can be found at a scene or those can be from test shots from a firearm. We also perform serial number restorations where we restore serial numbers that have been obliterated on a firearm, and we perform toolmark comparison analysis as well. Toolmark examination is the comparison of characteristics left behind when one object hits another object. The harder object strikes the softer object, leaving behind striated or impressed tool marks. A gun is considered a specialized tool in that aspect. When a firearm is manufactured, the machining process leaves behind unique characteristics on that firearm. Those unique characteristics become even more unique over time through use and wear of that particular firearm. In front of me here, I have a Glock firearm. This firearm, as it travels through the cycle of operation, it is going to leave unique characteristics from this firearm onto a bullet in a cartridge case. Those marks are going to come from the extractor, the ejector, the breech face, chamber marks, as well as from the barrel itself. These marks are all identifiable from that cartridge case and that bullet back to this particular firearm. So this is a Glock firearm. The markings left from the breech face, the ejector, as well as the extractor, the chamber, and the barrel all leave unique characteristics on a cartridge and a bullet when they are fired through this particular firearm. When a firearm comes into the lab, our examination process begins with first photographing a firearm and the contents of the packaging, and then making sure that the firearm is safe. So we do that by ensuring that the magazine is out of the firearm, that there are no rounds in the chamber, that the magazine well is clear, and that there are no items in the barrel. We are the only people in the world who probably look down the barrel of a firearm, but we always stick something in the chamber before we do so. That way, in case there was something in there, it is not going to be capable of firing. Once we have done that, we will function test the firearm. So that is going through basically the cycle of operation here at our desk. So does the trigger safety on this firearm appear to function? If there were other safeties, we would check those safeties. And then we pull that trigger and make sure that it functions properly at our desk. After that, we will take it into our range and we will test fire the weapon. Fired cartridge cases and bullets are submitted to the laboratory. These are typically submitted from a crime scene. We can have multiple cartridge cases and bullets. We can have 1 or 2 cartridge cases and bullets. The first thing that we do with these is we will open them up at our lab bench. We will look at them under our stereoscope here to determine if first they have similar class characteristics. If we determine that they have the same or similar class characteristics, the next step then is to transition into our comparison microscope, which allows us to view 2 items simultaneously at one time. And we can then further look at these 2 items on the microscope to determine if they have the same or different individual characteristics, which will then tell us if they were fired from the same firearm or from 2 different firearms. I have worked thousands of cases, and in my experience, no 2 firearms have marked the same. After we have test fired a firearm, we are going to bring it into the range to acquire test shots from that particular firearm. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a couple of cartridges here, load those into my magazine, and now this firearm is ready for test firing. Let's go into the range and get some test shots. So we are able to test fire these firearms on the 4th floor of this building thanks to this range. So this range has bulletproof walls. It is surrounded by thick layers of concrete as well. It is also designed in a way that the end down here is designed like a snail shell. So if you think about a snail and what their shell looks like, how it's kind of circular, that kills the momentum of a bullet and allows us to be able to shoot in this range safely, that it doesn't affect anybody that might be on the other side of that wall. Here we are in our water tank room. So when evidence is submitted and they are requesting comparison with fired bullets found at a crime scene or from autopsy, we need to acquire pristine bullets from a particular firearm. To do so, we will fire those test shots then in this water tank here, and that will give us that pristine bullet for comparison. So let's take some test shots. Now that we have our test fired cartridge cases and our test fired bullets, we are ready to go into the microscope and perform our microscopic comparison. The NIBIN database, which stands for the National Integrated Ballistic Information System, is a database of 3D images of fired cartridge cases from scenes and test shots from firearms that are submitted to the laboratory. Those 3D images then come back to us so that we can correlate against different crime scenes to determine if cartridge cases from one scene are related to a gun that later came into the lab, or vice versa, if a gun that we get into the lab is related to any previous scenes. This is our firearm reference collection. Our reference collection is made up of hundreds of different crime firearms. These crime firearms are used for training purposes, not only for new examiners, but also for recruits, crime scene classes as well. We also use these firearms in the event that a gun comes in and it does not function, and we need a part to make that firearm function. We can pull that part from this gun. We can also use these firearms as a reference for serial number restorations for the serial number format, as well as just for having some fun. Those interested in pursuing a career in firearm and toolmark analysis will need to have a bachelor's or advanced degree in a natural science or a forensic science field. Once hired into this section, you will then undergo a 2-year training program as outlined by the Association of Firearm and Toolmark Examiners. Within that 2-year training program, you will attend manufacturing facilities, you will attend armors courses, you will perform numerous in-house practicals and training assignments, as well as work supervised casework under the direction of a trainer. It is rewarding to know that the work that we are performing here in the firearms section of the St. Louis County Police Crime Laboratory has an impact on not only the residents that we service, but also on surrounding areas. It is just as important to determine that a fired cartridge case or a fired bullet was not fired from a firearm to let investigators know what direction to take on a possible investigation.